Thank you. Good morning. My name is Felicia Orth, she, hers. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, and wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Thank you, Nylea, for our beautiful gathering music this morning. So much can be said about the Black musicians whose music is in today's service. As we celebrate Black history in today's service, we also celebrate the history of Black music, which has had a major influence on many genres of music that we hear today. Perhaps what you hear about these Black musicians this morning will whet your appetite to learn more. We began our service just now with Harry Thacker Burleigh's music, who was a major figure in African American music after the Civil War. His professional music career began when he broke the color line as a Black baritone soloist. Burleigh composed over 300 pieces of music in his lifetime and is well known for his arrangements of African American spirituals, including the Gospel Train that you just heard. Through his compositions and arrangements, Burleigh made African American music accessible to concert singers for the first time and gave white audiences the chance to hear this powerful music. Thank you, Nylea. Thank you to all of you who are here this morning as we celebrate Black history together. I would also like to introduce our guest speaker, Juanita Ingram, who is joining us today. Juanita grew up in South Carolina and moved to Los Alamos in 2011. Juanita's been working in education for over 20 years. She has a background in English education and speech-language pathology. Thank you for being here with us today, sharing your voice and helping us celebrate Black history. If this is your first time with us today, we'd love to get to know you. Please sign our guest book in the foyer. You can also speak with our greeter, Mike McNaughton, at the table there, or Reverend Tina DeYoe, who's behind me, for more information about our church. If you're watching online, hello, we're glad you're with us virtually. Please sign the virtual guest book that is in the notes below the worship video. You can also sign the virtual prayer book if you have a joy or sorrow to share with our community. We have candles of community over here and at the back of the room. You're invited to come up during the first hymn, or now, or any time before prayer time to light a candle and write your joy or sorrow in the book. It will be spoken then by Reverend DeYoe. Do not have to wait until prayer time. Please feel free to come up early in the service. We have a lot of worship options for young children. Down here is the activity table. Kids can stay seated with their parents if they'd like, or caregivers. We also have the library quiet room back there, and our nursery is down that hall for kiddos under the age of 3. Sarah Hamoud will be happy to check in your younger children. Kids can also leave after time for all ages and go with Elizabeth Portillos, there she is, our lifespan spiritual enrichment assistant and teacher, to their World Blessing class located in Fellowship Hall. Parents will need to sign out their kiddos after the service finishes. We have lots of kids, youth, and adult programming throughout the week and on Sundays. Please feel free to talk with Terra, Hite, there she is, our Director of Lifespan Spiritual Enrichment, for more information about these programs. Let's turn to announcements. Church announcements can be read weekly through your email, can also be found on our website. Some announcements can be found on the back of your worship program. Please make sure you're on the church announcements email list by signing up to receive them in the sign-in book in the foyer or on our website. Church announcements come out every Thursday at noon. Be on the lookout for that email. If you would please reach for your cell phones and silence them, set them on stun. Today we're highlighting a few announcements. After the service today at 11:45 a.m., you're invited to join the last of the UU 101 classes in classroom 4, just down that hallway, all the way at the end. New members, inquiring members, friends, and long-term members are invited to join us. We will be meeting with folks from the worship team and the Caring Committee, Caring Network. So bring your questions about worship and pastoral care or the Caring Network in our church community. Also after the service, you're invited to join folks in the fellowship hall for all ages fun shops. That's fun, F-U-U-N. Patrick Webb will be teaching whittling, and Rita will be leading letter writing to our folks in Congress about issues that are important to you that you want to make sure they're taking action on. There's also coffee and fellowship time in the fellowship hall. Today at 12:45, we have a worship associate training here in the sanctuary for those of you who would like to be standing right here doing what I'm doing. Also today at 3, members of our church are invited to join the donor dessert event at the United Church in Graves Hall. That's down the road. This event raises money for the Mexico mission trip that some of our UU high school youth will be going on this spring break, pretty soon here, along with Reverend DeYoe and youth and adults from the United Church. The youth will be going to Mexico to build houses for folks who are in need of a safe place to live. So please join in this yummy event where you can give some money to a great cause, support our youth and folks in Mexico. Next Sunday, March 2nd, we will have our new members ceremony during the service, and it is our Covenant Sunday. So if you're thinking about becoming a member and haven't signed that membership book yet, you can do so today and be recognized next Sunday. After the service next week, we'll gather in Fellowship Hall with food and cake, start the creation of our congregational covenant. Kids, youth, and adults are all invited to help us create that covenant together. So please stay after service next Sunday as well. Mark your calendars now. Our church canvas dinner with a very special St. Patrick's Day menu planned for you. It will be at 5 p.m. on Saturday, March 8th. So I'm almost done here. Please now greet your neighbors by introducing yourself. This is cold and flu season, so if you'd rather just wave, that's fine. I'll ring the chime to call us back. Okay. All right, so my next thing is off. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to sit there until off. I will exit the stage before your guys' message.
Good morning. My name is the Reverend Tina DeYoe. I use she, her pronouns, and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. We gather in worship to find meaning and to live more deeply. Worship creates connections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion, calling us to be our better selves. Our church theme for this last Sunday of February, the whole month, we've been having the theme of inclusion. And today we are celebrating inclusion by celebrating Black history and the voices and songs and music of Black culture. So let us gather now in worship this morning as we light our flaming chalice this morning. And Nina is going to come up and light our chalice. Come on up, Nina. Thank you, Nina. And these are words, these chalice lighting words are by Adrienne L.H. Graham, who is Director of Congregational Engagement at the UU Church in Rockville, Maryland, and is a Black professional UU and one of my colleagues. We kindle a flame of power, illuminating the holy in each of our faces. We recognize in the flame a passionate commitment to our shared faith. We are held and carried from day to day, week to week, in the shining of the light. This flame is mine as well as yours. We are brought together on this day, called to growth, to expansion within its glow. What does your heart know while beholding this holy fire? So this morning, we are starting with our opening hymn, number 149, Lift Every Voice and Sing. The words will be up here. And this is a song written and composed by brothers James Weldon Johnson and J. Rosamond Johnson. James Weldon Johnson was a gifted writer, the first Black to pass the bar in Florida, the head of the NAACP, a civil rights activist, a college professor, and a scholar of African American literature. His brother, J. Rosamond Johnson, was a composer, musical performer, and actor and educator. The brothers were also influential ethnomusicologists who studied Black spirituals and song. In 1900, the brothers wrote, Lift Every Voice and Sing, with words by James and music by J. Rosamond. A group of Black children at a segregated school in their hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, sang the piece to honor Booker T. Washington. The song quickly became popular, and it has become known as the Black National Anthem. As a predominantly white congregation here, today we sing this bittersweet, angry, and hopeful song considering its context and significance for African Americans. We also sing it as we examine racism, past and present, and celebrate Black history and the numerous contributions of Black Americans. So let us now stand in body and or spirit, and let us sing together, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Please remain standing for our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Please be seated. We would like to invite all the young and young at heart to come up to our young worshipers space up here for a time for all ages story. So come on up with Elizabeth and Terra. So come on up to the carpet.
Good morning. Today I have a special book called Before the Ships, The Birth of Black Excellence. And this was written by Maisha Oso. And I'm going to start by reading the author's note, and then we'll read the story. So Maisha writes, I was born and raised in New York City, where my public school education in Black history began with slavery and ended with the civil rights movement. For the longest time, I wondered about the impact of teaching young children that they are descendants of slaves without exploring the rich history that came before their enslavement, a beautiful history of Africans that is too often overlooked in the studies of world history. In 2013, I moved to
In 1958, they wrote, "Lord, Don't Move the Mountain," and the recording of this song sold over 1 million copies. The lyrics exclaim, "Lord, don't move the mountain, but give me strength to climb it. Please don't move that stumbling block, but lead me, Lord, around it." Thank you for sharing your monetary gifts this morning, and may what you give bring you joy. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity this morning. May these gifts continue to expand the power and capacity of Black UUs within Unitarian Universalism.
So during this time, you are invited to come up to our candles of community space if you haven't already, and light a candle and write a joy or sorrow in our book. Joys and sorrows that are written will then be read aloud. So during this time, we will be singing "We Shall Overcome." "Will Overcome" first appeared as a protest song during 1945 to 1946 during a labor strike against American tobacco in Charleston, South Carolina. African-American women strikers seeking a pay raise to 30 cents an hour sang as they picketed, "I Will Overcome" was a favorite song of "I Will Overcome" was a favorite song of Lucille Simmons, one of the strikers, but she gave the song a powerful sense of solidarity by changing the "I" into "we" as they sang together. Other lyrics were improvised for pro-union purposes, including "We will organize," "We will win our rights," and "We will win this fight." In 1947, Simmons brought the song to Highlander Folk School and shared it with other labor activists there. Zilphia Horton, head of the school's cultural program, learned it and later taught it to Pete Seeger. It soon became an anthem of the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. It offered courage, comfort, and hope as protesters confronted prejudice and hate in the battle for equal rights for African Americans. So let us join in singing as we are seated, and please feel free to come up and light a candle this morning. Candles have been lit this morning, sending strength and comfort to those adversely affected by the new administration. Family near and far, biological and chosen. In gratitude for those who help and sow the seeds of love and hope. May all of these things written and unwritten, those prayers that remain on our hearts today, be lifted up into this space this morning. So our prayer and meditation today comes from Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, one of our Unitarian ancestors, Black ancestors, and her writing, Common Justice and Simple Mercy. Frances Ellen Watkins Harper was a Unitarian, a Black woman, an abolitionist, a poet, a speaker, lecturer, a suffragist, an author, and an overall awesome woman. These words come from an address she delivered on April 14th, 1875, at the centennial anniversary of the Pennsylvania Society for Promoting the Abolition of Slavery. Let us hear Frances's words and reflect on how they may still ring true for us today. What we need today in the onward march of humanity is a public sentiment in favor of common justice and simple mercy. We have a civilization which has produced grand and magnificent results, diffused knowledge, overthrown slavery, made constant conquests over nature, and built up a wonderful material prosperity. But two things are wanting in American civilization: a keener and deeper, broader and tenderer sense of justice, a sense of humanity which shall crystallize into the life of the nation the sentiment that justice, simple justice, is the right, not simply of the strong and powerful, but of the weakest and feeblest of all God's children. A deeper and broader humanity which will teach people to look upon their feeble siblings not as vermin to be crushed out or beasts of burden to be bridled and bitted, but as the children of the living God, of that God whom we may earnestly hope is in perfect wisdom and in perfect love, working for the best good of all.
Follow that silence to the introduction to our anthem. Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen is an African-American spiritual that speaks to the horrors of living in slavery and the hope of finding freedom. It has been recorded by many Black artists, including Paul Robeson, Sam Cooke, and Mahalia Jackson. This arrangement of the spiritual is by composer and pianist Florence B. Price, the first African-American woman to have a symphony performed by a major orchestra. Her music career spanned 3 decades. She wrote over 300 compositions, including vocal, instrumental, chamber, and orchestral music. A revival of Florence Price's music is underway, and scores are now becoming available to new generation of musicians. Thank you, Nada.
Thank you. Woo woo. Black history is resilience. Black history is music. Black history is courage in the face of suffering. Black history is dance. Black history is strength. Black history is excellence. Black history is poetry. Black history is rhythm. Black history is the cradle of human existence. Black history is power and civil disobedience. Black history is activism and justice. Black history is beauty. Black history is intelligence and science. Black history is worship. Black history is food. Black history is the backbone of the U.S. empire. Black history is the cornerstone of this nation. Black history is faith. Black history is hope. Black history is truth. Black history is Unitarian Universalist history. Black history is love. Black history is all of this and much, much, much more. In order for our nation to heal, we must celebrate Black history in all of its beauty and excellence, and we must acknowledge all of the racial injustice that Black people and people of the non-white races have had to endure in this country. Truth and reconciliation can only be achieved when we know our history. When we know our history, we are better equipped to address contemporary issues like mass incarceration, human and civil rights, immigration, affordable housing, affirmative action, and police brutality. When we know our nation's history, we can appreciate cultural moments, diversity, and icons. When we know our history, we can appreciate the Black Power fist and taking a knee during the national anthem. When we know Black history, we can appreciate the artistry and genius that went into Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show. When we know our history, we can lift up the values of love, justice, and equity. Yes, Black history was made this year here in Los Alamos as we elected the first ever Black and Black female county councilor, Beverly Clinton, who is Juanita's sister. Yes, we celebrate that history for sure, but we also know that we still have justice and equity work to do in our world, in our community, and even here in our church. The work of learning and celebrating Black history continues. So Juanita and I worked together this week and decorated our church. She got a lot of the decorations, and Andrea Detterman donated the posters. And we worked together to compile a lot of Black history resources for you all today that are in the fellowship hall. So there is a table of books for kids and adults. So look at the titles, put them in on a sheet of paper, take a photo of them so that you can educate yourselves and continue your learning. There are handouts of Black history timelines over there, one of the US, and this one is in particular to Unitarian Universalist Black history that you can take home. You can read, study, and learn. There are voter registration tests that I picked up from the Equal Justice Initiative's Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama, that were used in the South before the 1965 Voting Rights Act was passed. These tests were literally created in the South so that Black people would fail and not be given the right to vote in elections. No person can answer these questions correctly. There was one Black woman that did, though, y'all. They really are absurd questions, like, how many windows does the White House have? Are you kidding me right now? Like, seriously? There are also copies back there in the fellowship hall of the lecture that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave at the 1966 Unitarian Universalist General Assembly. There are also copies of the typed flyer that folks in Montgomery, Alabama created after Rosa Parks was arrested that informed the Black community to stop riding the buses as a boycott. There's copies, well, reprinted copies of that flyer that they distributed. So check out all of the Black history resources in the fellowship hall after the service. You all also have a Black history card on your seat today. So you can take this card with you and put it up on your fridge or in your room or read it to your kids or office or somewhere that will remind you to keep learning and keep reading about Black history. And if there's extras and you want to take them, take them. I put the Black history in the U.S. timeline together, and I learned things that I didn't know. I learned that Reverend Yvonne Sion, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, was the first African-American woman to be ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister in 1981. And one of her sons is Dave Chappelle. True story. So as we celebrate Black history today, I wanted to bring to our attention some of our Black Unitarian Universalists. That's Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, who I read some of her words earlier. In 1854, her book was published, her book of poems, entitled Poems and Miscellaneous Subjects. Frances was a Black woman, an abolitionist, a suffragist, a Unitarian, a poet, a public speaker, lecturer, an author, and an awesome woman. Louis Latimer was an inventor and a Unitarian. Louis worked on numerous inventions, including the development of the telephone alongside Alexander Graham Bell. Latimer helped to develop a more efficient transmitter that improved the quality of the sound, and his drawings were crucial for securing the telephone patent. He also worked with Thomas Edison on the invention of the incandescent light bulb. In 1882, Latimer's invention of a method to manufacture carbon filament to make light bulbs mass-producible was patented. There is Reverend Dr. Yvonne Sion. Sion studied divinity at Howard University. She was ordained as a minister in the Unitarian Universalist Church in 1981. This made her the first African-American woman to be a Unitarian Universalist minister. In the 1990s, she founded and was the minister of a Unitarian congregation. And after completing her PhD in African-American studies, she became a professor in the history department of Prince George's Community College. She retired from the college in 2006 and returned to the Bolinga Black Cultural Resources Center at Wright State University, where she was first distinguished visiting director and then became full-time director for 2 years. Yvonne is now in her 80s. And then we have Reverend, our words got cut off. Man, I don't know why it does that. Okay, I apologize. Reverend William Bill Sinkford. The Reverend William Sinkford is a Unitarian Universalist minister who served as the 7th president of the Unitarian Universalist Association from 2001 to 2009. His installation as UUA president made him the first African American to lead the organization, or any traditionally white religious denomination in the United States. Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, she served as our first female and first Black female UUA co-president alongside Reverend William Sinkford and Dr. Leon Spencer. That was in 2017. And in 2023, Reverend Dr. Sophia became our first elected Black female UUA president, and she is currently serving as our president. Before becoming UUA president, she was a professor at the UU Seminary Starr King School for the Ministry. Her own scholarship focuses on environmental ethics of liberation in a womanist and Latina feminist frame. Alondria Williams, who I knew and was a close colleague, served as co-moderator of the Unitarian Universalist Association from August 2017 to June 2020. Alondria was an incomparable leader, joyous presence, and indomitable force in our Unitarian Universalist community and beyond. Unfortunately, she lost her life in 2020. Alondria was elected to the UUA Board of Trustees in 2016 and held a 6-year term on the Presidential Search Committee. E, as sometimes they would go by, was a founding member of Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. Reverend Joseph Jordan, in 1889, Joseph Jordan officially became a Universalist minister, the first African American to be ordained by the Universalist denomination. This was before Unitarians and Universalists merged. Born in Virginia in 1842, when slavery was still legal, Joseph opened the first Universalist Church of Norfolk in Virginia in a rented room. He built the pulpit with his own hands. The Universalists in Virginia soon built new meeting houses and schools. Dozens of African American children came to learn, for there were few other schools available to them. And then Reverend Dr. Mark Morrison Reed is the author and editor of several books, including Black Pioneers in a White Denomination, Darkening the Doorways, Black Trailblazers, and Missed Opportunities in Unitarian Universalism. The Selma Awakening, How the Civil Rights Movement Tested and Changed Unitarian Universalism. And Revisiting the Empowerment Controversy, Black Power and Unitarian Universalism. He has served as co-minister of Unitarian Universalist congregations in Toronto and Rochester, New York, and as an affiliated faculty member at Meadville Lombard Theological School, our other UU seminary. And I also wanted to bring attention to the history of Black people who were part of the Manhattan Project here in our local context. There were thousands of African Americans working on the Manhattan Project. These are just a couple that I would like to highlight. So in 1944, J. Ernest Wilkins Jr. worked alongside Enrico Fermi and Arthur Compton at the University of Chicago's Met Lab. Wilkins researched ways to produce fissionable nuclear materials with an emphasis on plutonium-239. That is him right there. And in 1943, Samuel Proctor Maisie began work as a research assistant for the Manhattan Project at Iowa's Ames Laboratory, converting uranium isotopes into liquid compounds. So there is so much to celebrate when it comes to Black history. And we must reconcile with the dark past of our nation's history, because it is only through truth and reconciliation that we will be able to heal as a nation. And now I would like to invite Juanita Ingram, our guest speaker, to come up and speak to us today. Please let's give a warm welcome to Juanita this morning.
I'd just like to say I've enjoyed my time being here working with Reverend Tina. I hope this morning's program has inspired you to delve deep into the Black experience. It is important to know about the happy stories, the clever stories, and also the sad stories. It is especially to know about the sad stories because it takes courage to watch, listen, and read about them. It is very hard to be exposed to some of the sad stories, but it's very important to know about them so that the sad stories are not repeated. So I like to take a little time to read about the origins of Black History Month and Black History Week. So please take this journey with me. Black History Month, observed every February in the United States and Canada, has its roots in the early 20th century as a pivotal movement recognizes and celebrates the contributions and achievements of African Americans. Its history intertwines with themes of faith, resilience, and community, making particularly relevant for church audiences who value the role of spirituality in the journey towards justice and equality. The origins of Black History Month can be traced back to Black History Week, which was established by Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1926. Woodson, an African-American historian, educator, and author, launched this initiative to counter the prevailing narrative that marginalized the achievements of Black individuals in American history. He aimed to ensure that the accomplishments and experiences of African Americans were included in the broader historical narrative, challenging the systemic racism that had long been embedded in the educational curricula. Woodson chose the second week of February to coincide with the birthdays of two figures who played significant roles in advocating for the rights of African Americans: Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. Douglass, a former enslaved individual, became a powerful orator and abolitionist, while Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation was a crucial step towards the liberation of enslaved people. By selecting this week, Woodson sought to provide a framework for understanding the contributions of Black individuals made to the fabric of American history. As the years passed, the celebration of Black History Week gained traction in schools, churches, and communities across the nation. In 1976, during the United States bicentennial, the week was expanded into a month, officially becoming Black History Month. This change reflected a growing recognition of the importance of honoring African American history and culture, as well as the ongoing struggle against racial injustice. For church communities, Black History Month served as an opportunity to reflect on the spiritual journey of the African American, who have often found strength and solace in their faith amid adversity. The church has historically been a cornerstone of the African American community, providing not only a place of worship, but also a platform for social activism. Many prominent civil rights leaders, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., emerged from the church, drawing upon their faith to inspire change and the status quo. During the Black History Month, churches can engage their congregations in discussions about the rich heritage of African American spirituality, exploring figures such as Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and the countless unnamed individuals who played pivotal roles in the right for freedom and equality. By embracing the history, congregations can foster a deeper understanding of the intersect between faith and social justice, reinforcing the belief that all people are created in the image of God and deserving of dignity and respect. In conclusion, the establishment of Black History Week and the evolution into Black History Month represents a crucial chapter in the ongoing story of America. For church audiences, this celebration is not just about acknowledging the past. It is an invitation to participate in the present and future of justice, equality, and love. By honoring the contributions of African Americans and recognizing the role of faith in our struggles, we can collectively work towards a more inclusive and equitable society. Let us embrace the opportunity to learn, reflect, act, ensuring that the legacy of Black history is celebrated not only in February, but throughout the entire year. Thank you.
And let us now stand in body and or spirit as we sing our closing song, This Little Light of Mine. Feel free to clap too.
This little light of mine,
And let us go from this place committed to continue to celebrate and learn about Black history as we continue the fight for racial justice and equity and equality in this world. May it be so, and let us go out together. And feel free to join hands for our closing song, The Way, if you would like.